A toy soldier, origami bat, and wooden ship walk into a burning house. No, that's not the start of a strange joke, but rather it's the setup for an everyday story. A brand new narrative platformer from first-time developer Cactus Production. It's an emotional journey through a man's life, showing us both the good times and those moments that we wish that we could forget. But what do these three toys have to do with anything? Well, that's just one of the questions that we'll be answering in this review of an everyday story. Some games want to show you a fantastical world where people go on impossible adventures, but not an everyday story. As the name suggests, this is a grounded tale with real people with relatable problems. It's built around the conceit of a father telling his son about the pivotal moments in his life that made him who he is. We learn about his childhood as the son of a war hero, about how he moves to Italy, the little toy shop that he opens up, and even the cute way that he meets his wife, along with some of the darker moments like the inherited alcoholism, and that one time that he accidentally caught the house on fire. These stories are told through a series of platforming stages where you play as one of three types of toys: an origami bat, a toy soldier, and a small wooden boat. Each level is built around a different toy and their ability. For example, the toy soldier can shoot a gun to clear a path, grapple up to hard-to-reach locations, and parachute down to safety. The origami bat, on the other hand, can double jump, glide through the air, and even flatten itself, allowing it to slide underneath doors. And then there's the boat, which is good on both land and on water, capable of using its anchor to solve a bunch of simple puzzles. And that's the key to all of these stages, no matter which toy you're controlling. While the father narrates why the memory is so important, we'll explore the surroundings looking for items to pick up that we can use to solve puzzles. Sometimes this is as simple as just grabbing a bullet and loading a gun, while other stages will have us controlling a big magnet and moving multiple objects around the room. While none of the puzzles are especially difficult, you'll run into a nice variety, which really helps to keep the game from becoming too repetitive. Now, it helps that the backgrounds that are tied to the memories are often really exciting and fun to look at. Because these are small toys, you'll often have to overcome everyday objects that tower above our character. One of the most exciting parts of the game has our toy soldier taking part in a battle against other toy enemies. Something that includes a lot of blowing up Lego walls and watching tanks roll through the streets. All this takes place as the father narrates what he was feeling at the time and how it impacted his life going forward. Look, you can tell right from the start that this is going to be one of those games that wants you to cry. Even when things are going well and everything is working out, you just know that the other shoe is going to drop at some point. There's always that feeling that trouble is just around the corner. And because the problems are so realistic and relatable, you'll actually be able to guess a lot of the gut punches that you're going to be taking. The back half of the game is pulling at every heartstring that you have, and I gotta admit that some of it feels a bit manipulative. For the most part, I'm actually fine with the predictability and melodrama because it leads to more interesting stages that are fun to play and explore. Although it's using 3D polygons, this is strictly a side-scroller. Sometimes you'll need to walk in and out of the screen, but there's always a prompt for that. This can be a little confusing in some of the larger stages, especially when you have to complete multiple puzzles before moving on. It's not always clear where you're supposed to be going or what you're supposed to be doing, and some of the objectives end up getting lost behind objects. It takes a little while to get the hang of navigating these admittedly cool-looking stages. Now, one thing that puzzled me throughout the entire game was the choice in toys. For example, the toy soldier and origami bat are surprisingly similar. While the soldier will parachute down, the bat can glide. Give the soldier a double jump and the ability to crawl on the ground, and there would really be no use for the origami bat at all. The boat is also confusing, as you'll spend very little time on actual water. There are lengthy levels where you're just on dry land with no water in sight. Once again, I feel like a lot of this could have been given to the toy soldier. Don't get me wrong, I understand that both the origami bed and the wooden boat play an important role in the story, but I gotta admit, they simply aren't as much fun as controlling the toy soldier. The other problem with this game is that it just doesn't feel very polished. Everything from the animation to the stage designs are a bit rough. You'll clip through a lot of the platforming obstacles, and all the movements look stiff. The game does get away with it because these are toys and they don't have to have lifelike animation, but it still looks a little awkward. There are also a bunch of technical problems, like getting stuck in the background. Thankfully, the checkpointing is fairly liberal, so even if you do get stuck, you won't lose a whole bunch of progress. The one thing that I really liked about this game is that all the problems are the types of things that you would see with your friends and your family. There's really nothing crazy here, just the kind of relatable problems that many adults are forced to deal with. In an era when most games want you to save the world, there's something comforting about the more realistic stakes. And maybe that's the point. This isn't an outlandish or unbelievable story, it's an everyday story. If you're looking for a story-driven platformer that will definitely make you sad, then look no further than an everyday story. Experience an entire life from the perspective of 3 unique toys, each of which have their own unique moves and abilities. While many of the story beats are a bit predictable, the levels are well designed and full of puzzles to solve. Unfortunately, the strong narrative is undermined by technical problems and some questionable design choices. An everyday story is a fun platformer that will definitely stick with you, even if the final act borders on being manipulative. I can't wait to see what Cactus Production comes up with next. Hey, thanks for watching my review. If you liked what you saw here, then you should know that we post new reviews and features almost every day. Now, here's the question I have for you. What's the saddest game that you've ever played? Oh, this is a wide open category, so I'm excited to see your picks in the comments below. In other news, we'll be back tomorrow with a very spooky episode of The Review Crew. If that sounds good to you, then I strongly recommend you click that subscribe button and support what we're doing here. Until then,